Eat Right for the Golden Ox here. And we're also doing this on Facebook Live. And so I think we're probably going to have thousands of people eating these pan-fried noodles real soon.
Amazing.
Yeah. So,
Amazing.
yeah. Okay, we've got 100 so far. We're going to wait just another couple of minutes. And I hope that everyone was able to download the ingredients list. And thank you for visiting MOCA's new website, mocanyc.org. And very sorry that those of you who are eager and went on to sign up for the session first, we had a little bit of a glitch because it's a new website, but definitely go back to the site and we'll have this recorded and this video ready to go. So if you guys can't follow along because Chef Julie's like so skilled at doing this quickly, but you can always watch the recording and slow it down and try to get all this in there. And you can tell Wilson and Chef Julie are at Nom Wah. So that's on 13 Doyer Street. And so we're going to hopefully see them reopen real soon, but they have outdoor dining. So you can book your reservations at nomwah.com, or no reservations, I think. But just stop by. Yeah, we're going to wait 1 or 2 more minutes. We're streaming live on Facebook right now. So get your ingredients ready. And we will start in just about 2 minutes. So for some of you who are coming in and thinking about the Lunar New Year, Lunar New Year's Eve is actually tomorrow, February 11th, and we will wrap up the year of the metal rat. And I think many of us will sigh a big sigh of relief as we go into the year of the golden ox. I'm hoping that everyone is doing well. Rough 12 months for everybody, I think, but we're glad that we can spend some time to think about food and Lunar New Year and having a good time. So we already have questions, and we will be doing a Q&A session with Wilson Tang after we make the noodles with Chef Julie. So you can always put your questions into the Q&A as we go along, and we'll be able to present them to Wilson after we do the workshop. People are pretty excited about trying your noodles. We already got comments. Alvin Ing is like, this is perfect for a chilly night. Should I be boiling water for the noodles? That's a good prep. Should we be boiling water for the noodles? Your water's boiling.
Yes, you should have a pot of boiling water going to start. This will be the first step when we get started, to kind of just give the noodles a quick cook it through real quick. Even though when you buy it, it's cooked already. You just want to kind of bring it to temperature and give it a good bath.
So if they bought pre-cooked noodles, should they still boil them or no?
Question for Julie.
Yeah, so whether it's pre-cooked or raw, you're still going to want to boil the noodles to get them hot and ready for the pan. You won't want to put them into the pan to cook them with sauce and onions and such raw.
Yeah. So the lesson right now, lesson 1, don't worry, you guys didn't lose anything. Just boil the water while we're waiting for a few more guests to come on. So we're just going to wait literally 1 more minute because we have a good group of folks already signed up. Yeah. So if people haven't been to Nom Wah, you've got to come down to Nom Wah. And wow, look, we have guests calling in from North Carolina, and they said they found all the ingredients. Pretty awesome in Charlotte. Okay, well, welcome everyone to the Museum of Chinese in America, MOCA's first cooking episode for the Lunar New Year. I'm Nancy Yao Maasbach. I'm the president of the museum, and I'm joined by several of my colleagues and a lot of members, actually from all over the country, calling in to learn the best pan-fried noodles in the world right here, right now. And make sure you follow the chat because we'll be giving you information about Wilson's new book that he wrote with Joshua David Stein, the Nom Wah Cookbook that's published by Harper's, and you can get it. We'll send you information on the chat, and also any ingredients and any additional information that you might need as Chef Julie and Wilson are giving you the play-by-play. And also, if you have questions, just put them in the Q&A and we'll be able to answer them after we do this demonstration. But first and foremost, thank you, Wilson. Thank you, Chef Julie. Thank you, Barbara from Nom Wah. We've been partnering for a long time, and we're super excited that you guys have hopefully fared well enough where you are still there, because we love you guys, and most importantly, happy 100th birthday. So super honored to welcome you to our MOCA Cooking Fest. So I will stop my video and hand it over to you, Wilson, and to you, Chef Julie. Thank you again, and we'll be back.
Thanks, Nancy, so much. You failed to mention also, Nancy, that you're also in the cookbook as well as a representative for MOCA. We have a chapter on the MOCA Museum. So for members of MOCA, please purchase a copy of the cookbook. We have highlighted Nancy as the president of MOCA, and she's got her chapter in the book as a community leader. So please support MOCA. MOCA is definitely part of the as well. So without further ado, I guess we can start today's cooking demo with Chef Julie. Today we're making pan-fried noodles with Superior Soy Sauce. I'll come back later to answer any additional questions with Nancy. But without further ado,
Let's do it.
Chef Julie with the noodles.
Here we go.
There we go.
Okay.
So I'll just watch you from this side.
Okay, great. So how's everyone doing tonight? All right, so we're gonna get started. Personal favorite, right? Definitely one of my personal favorites always. I always like to get pan-fried noodles at Nom Wah. So it's so simple, but so delicious. So let's go and we'll show you how to make them. So as Wilson mentioned, the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna start with our noodles here. So we love Twin Marquis, right?
Yeah. My favorite brand.
Yeah.
Made locally here in New York, in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
They're a big service provider for all of New York and the East Coast, for that matter.
Yep.
So right here, made in New York, and they're available at most supermarkets, most Asian supermarkets, and you can definitely pick this up in their refrigerated.
Yeah, you can also find them a lot. I've seen them at a lot of other major supermarkets now, which is great. So look for this brand, Twin Marquis, really high quality, and always, when you're making a recipe like this with so few ingredients, it's really great to use a really high quality product. So we just have 1 pound here of their Hong Kong style noodles. And as Wilson mentioned, we're just gonna give them a quick blanch just to cook them through before we saute them, okay? Yep, sure. Okay, awesome. Okay, so this is our pack, and we have a pot of boiling water here with just a noodle basket inside. You don't need the noodle basket. You can just use a regular pot of boiling water. This just makes it easier when pulling it out, but again, just normal pot of boiling water is fine. So we're just going to put all of the noodles in, right into the basket. All right, and then I'm just going to get them all in there. All right. And again, if you're using just a pot of boiling water without a basket, just, give them a good stir around. And we're just gonna cook these for, just a minute or two, just to fully cook them through before we saute. So, all right.
And Julie, Alvin wants to know, do you have any gluten-free noodle recommendations?
Yeah, we love like rice noodles or ho fun noodles. We buy, I buy fresh ones a lot in Chinatown a lot. We eat them for family meal in the restaurants a lot. Yeah, any type of fresh rice noodle will be great. Or if you can't find a fresh one, any dry one will also work. So a dried rice vermicelli noodle, even a dry pad thai noodle, those things will also all work. Just with any dry rice noodle, you're not going to need to cook it very long. They just need like a very quick hydration in some hot water. You don't even need to put into a pot a lot of the time, and you'll be good to go. Rice noodles just tend to be much more like fragile and sensitive, so they don't need as much cooking. Okay, so we don't want to like cook the noodles too much or kill them, because we're going to be sautéing them afterwards. If you have a wok, that's preferable. We're going to be showing you all tonight on just a normal frying pan or skillet, but a wok is awesome if you have one at home. And all right. So yeah, we're just looking for the noodles to just cook for a few minutes and just not be raw anymore. And you can usually tell by looking at them, they'll become a bit more translucent. So I think we're pretty much there. Yep. Okay. So yeah, I think we're pretty much there. As you can tell, that was only like a minute or two. All right. So I'm just going to drain these out. Again, if you're using just a pot of boiling water, you can strain them in a colander or just pull them right out with tongs. And I have just a sheet tray here that I'm going to pull them out onto. Okay. And we just want to cool them off a bit before we cook them in the skillet.
And Julie, should we put like a paper towel underneath for the excess water, or what should we do?
They can stick to a paper towel, so I wouldn't recommend that. So just right onto the tray, and I'm actually going to step off right now. I'm just going to run them under some cold water. Okay. What that's going to do is just stop the cooking process so that the noodles don't overcook. Okay, here we go. All right. Okay, great. So I've just run these under some cold water just to stop that cooking. So yeah, these are now good to go. Okay. All right. All right. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make our sauce. So basically we want to have everything ready for our pan-fried noodles to saute them before we actually start that process. So what I have in front of us is the ingredients for our sauce. These onions and scallions we're going to add in when we start cooking. So yeah, it's really basic. These are very basic, I would say, Chinese ingredients for sauces that we're going to use. So I just have a small bowl here. Yeah, sure. Is that good?
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, so I just have a small bowl here we're gonna use to stir the sauce, okay? So let's start with our ingredients. So we have our light soy sauce, dark soy sauce, right? That one's like kind of thick, and you can see it's very dark, really delicious. We have a bit of kosher salt and just some white sugar. This is a white pepper. And it's already ground up for us. Some toasted sesame oil. So when you buy the sesame oil, you want to make sure you get the toasted sesame oil. There's a bunch of different kinds of sesame oil. You can tell you're getting the right one by the color. So if it's very clear or appears like other oils, that's not toasted. That, in my opinion, has more of a bland flavor. It doesn't really add much punch. But the toasted sesame oil has this really deep, delicious flavor that adds a lot of flavor. So make sure to get that one with a really dark color. And then last ingredient is some Shaoxing cooking wine. That,
And if they don't have the cooking wine, is there a substitute they can use?
yeah, I would say any other wine that you would cook with. I tend to steer away from wines that are called cooking wines. They tend to be really bad. So if you can't get the Shaoxing wine, any other wine that you would cook with, maybe something lighter. Okay. All right, so that's all of our ingredients for the sauce in the bowl. And I'm just gonna give it a stir, just until it comes together.
Cool. And Christine is wondering what's the difference between light and dark soy sauces?
You wanna weigh in there, Barb?
That would require me to actually look at the Nom Wah Cookbook.
I've been corrected there before.
Yeah, I always get a little bit confused myself. So
The dark soy sauce has a really dark color. It's a little more viscous, and definitely has a much more depth of flavor to it.
but the funny thing is that dark soy sauce is actually less salty and actually a little bit lighter in color, which is so it's kind of, it feels like the opposite. But in either case, they're both very good. It's just you should use them to balance of this specific recipe.
Yeah. Using the two just adds a really big depth of flavor. And using that dark soy sauce adds this really good richness. Okay. All right. Okay, so we're in good shape here. So we have our noodles ready to go here. We have, yep. So our noodles ready to go. You can see they're nice and cool from running them under the cold water. Okay. And we have our sauce ready to go. And then the other ingredients that you want to have ready as well before you start cooking are going to be these right here. And again, you want to have these all ready before you start cooking because it's going to be a very quick process. Okay, so I have some sliced white onions. We have some sliced scallions, and here I have the whites and the greens separated. The whites are a bit more firm and require a bit more cooking, so we're going to add these in at the beginning with the white onions, and we're going to wait until the end to add in the greens. And then we also have some bean sprouts here that are also going to be added in at the end. All right, so I'm just going to switch out these guys. I'll just throw it right in here. Yeah. All right. Just take this off. Down. Is that okay?
Yep,
Okay, perfect.
Move this actually move this. Even more. Perfect.
Okay. All right, so as we mentioned before, we just have a large saute pan here that we're going to get pretty hot. And I have just a tablespoon of canola oil here that we're going to add in. You want to use any neutral flavored oil for these noodles. I would stay away from, olive oil or extra virgin olive oil or any type of oil with a strong flavor, because that's going to add or give the noodles a very distinct flavor. And we're just looking for something neutral just to use to saute the noodles. We're not adding any flavor with the oil. Okay.
Well, and while we're waiting for that to heat up, what brand soy sauces do you like to use?
I prefer Kikkoman. I always buy Kikkoman or Lee Kum Kee. They have really nice soy sauce as well. Wilson, I know you have some opinions on soy sauce, right? I go for Kikkoman or Lee Kum Kee.
I'm the same thing. Lee Kum Kee or Kikkoman. Mostly Kikkoman.
We've had some talks about the good the good superior soy sauces
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and the not as good ones, right?
But I think kikkoman is my favorite. Just I guess because it's made in the U.S. It's local.
Cool. All right.
And Julie, how do you know if bean sprouts are fresh?
Sure. So, bean sprouts are fresh. Is this a good angle to look at them?
Yep, there you go.
Okay. So you see these are.
Bring it more this way too. There you go.
Yep.
Yep, that's perfect.
Okay. So you see these are really white, super white, and they're also very firm. You'll see if I hold them here, like has a nice snap. That's how you know it's fresh. You'll see when they're not as fresh, they're not going to be very white. They're going to be more of a cream color. And then the worse they get, the more brown they get. So the more white the bean sprout is, definitely the fresher it is. And then also just that texture. So again, if it doesn't have that snap, it's just really flimsy, then it's not so fresh. Okay, so I think we're ready to start cooking, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, great. All right. So we just heated our oil in the pan. You want it hot. If you're using a wok, you want to heat it over, medium high or high heat. This is going to be a fairly fast cook process and very simple. So you want some high heat to get. I know Wilson likes the nice crispy bits on his noodles, so that's what we're going for.
And doesn't matter if we're cooking with electric or gas. I think here we have electric, right?
Yeah, so we're cooking on an induction burner right now. Whether you're cooking on electric or gas, you're going to want to be on like a medium high heat. Not so hot that it like super high heat that's going to burn everything you're putting in, but definitely a good amount of heat to get some char and crisp on your noodles. Okay. So I think we're going to start cooking because this pan's pretty hot. So as I mentioned before, we're going to start with the sliced white onions and then also the white part of the scallions. Okay. Right. So it's all going to go in. And you want to just you're looking to kind of fry here. Okay. So yeah, when we add these in, we're looking to get like a nice fry and get some really good flavor out of this before we put our noodles in. Okay. If you're doing this in a wok, it'll probably be a even more fast process. So yeah, we're gonna want to start to see like a bit of color develop, but we also don't want to cook them too much. I know I like in my pan-fried noodles when the onions and the scallions are a little crunchy and you can tell that they're there. All right, so it's starting to look pretty good. We're gonna add in our noodles. All right, so you can add in, we cooked a full pound of the Hong Kong style pan-fried noodles, and you can add in kind of as much as you'd like. I'm gonna go with maybe about 3/4 of it here, okay? Try to work with the size of whatever pan you're using too. You don't wanna put like a huge mound of noodles in your pan. Otherwise, it's going to be hard to cook them and get some nice color on them. All right, so our noodles are in the pan. Just going to kind of work them down a little bit. And I'm still on like a medium high heat. It's pretty hot. Okay. All right, so this is looking great. You don't want to leave it here too long. We just want to get some nice crisp on the noodles if we can. Some nice brown bits, but we don't want to like cook them too much more. All right. Okay, so at this point, we're gonna add in our sauce. So just give this a good stir before you put it in. All right. And then once you put that in, you're gonna wanna stir it around.
And Michael's wondering if we can add garlic to this dish.
Yeah, absolutely. You can definitely add garlic to it. This is a really simple, you know, basic recipe here. You can kind of, I'm just going to add in a bit more noodles. Yeah, if there's other aromatics you like garlic, ginger, you can definitely add those in. Feel free to customize it a bit. If you wanted to add some protein, like some shrimp or chicken, that's great too.
Alice went ahead and added some baby bok choy.
Oh, love that, veggie. Okay, so don't want to cook it too much. We're looking really good here. This plate, okay. All right. So at the end, we're gonna add in the scallion greens and bean sprouts. Right. And we're just gonna stir that all together. So you kind of just wanna work in the scallion greens and bean sprouts just to wilt them down a bit. We like to have like the crunch of the bean sprouts and the scallions. So we're not looking to cook it too much here, just enough to get them a little wilted and hot and in there. And then we should be good to go.
Jeff is wondering if you're using a metal utensil and a Teflon pan.
I'm using metal tongs. Yep. And this is just a non-stick frying pan that we're using today. All right, and I think that's pretty much it.
That's a pretty quick meal, Julie.
Very quick, yeah. Pan-fried
for like weekdays.
Yeah, pan-fried noodles are really quick and simple. You know, just requires some of those few basic ingredients, and then you're good to go. All right, get this up. All right, so I've turned off the heat and we're just gonna move it to a plate. All right, so I'm just gonna move this. Okay, so
Here's where I come
that's
in.
it. That's it. Really, it's really quick and easy. Grab some chopsticks too. Rinse these off.
That's incredible. And like Wilson, nice to just come in when it's done. This is
I know, right?
we
I
know
got-
your
I got the best job.
yeah, we know your
I'm gonna
speed.
mic up
Um,
this now.
But Chef Julie, I was wondering, you know, a lot of folks like to put in the
okay.
protein, like eggs and things like that. And when would you do that? Because with fried rice, you kind of do the eggs, I think, before you throw in the rice. When would you put in eggs and would you cook them and put them aside, or how would you think about the proteins?
If you're doing eggs, when would you add them? If you're adding a different protein, at what point do you cook and throw it all in?
Sure. Yeah. So if you're going to add any protein or eggs, you're going to want to add those in first. And cook them, and then either move them to the side of the wok or the pan you're using, or take them out while you cook the onions and the noodles, and then add them back in at the end. when you're cooking with proteins and something like this, they can easily overcook if you cook them and then leave them in the pan as you cook your noodles. So yeah, you're gonna wanna do that first. So you focus the cook process on the protein or the eggs, and you can make sure that they are cooked. And then, yeah, again, either move it to the side of your pan to kind of take some heat off of it, or just remove it altogether and then add it back in the end when you add the bean sprouts and the scallions. And it would be the same method if you were making a rice or a fried rice.
Right. And I think some of us, Chef Julie, are wondering how you got your training and if you grew up in a Chinese kitchen. I would love to hear a little bit of your background and how you became this aficionado of Wilson Tang Nom Wah cuisine.
Training and background.
Training and background.
My training and background. Sure. Yeah. So I moved to New York and have been working in the restaurant industry for about 12 years now. I started off in some Japanese kitchens, working at Ippudo for quite a while, and then a few fine dining restaurants in Manhattan, and then eventually made my way to Wilson over here at Nom Wah. So yeah, bunch of varied Manhattan experience.
Great. No, thank you so much. And we can open the conversation first with Chef Julie before we talk to Wilson a little bit about Nom Wah, its 100th anniversary, the cookbook, and the state of restaurants in Chinatown. Any more questions for Chef Julie on technique or any other aspects of making the pan-fried noodles? And which ones are your favorite noodles that you like? Is this your favorite type of noodle? And what are you thinking about some of the rice noodles compared to the egg noodles?
Yeah, this is definitely my favorite noodle for this recipe. It's kind of meant for this style of cooking. And again, the Twin Marquis brand is just always superior product. So yeah, this is definitely my favorite noodle for this recipe. It's the one we always use in this type of cooking application. I don't love making this with rice noodles just because I don't think the flavor of the sauce and that deep soy goes as well or with the rice noodles. The egg noodles really kind of bring out that deep soy, but definitely by all means feel free to use them. And again, as we've talked about, you can really customize this recipe with other proteins or aromatics you'd like to kind of make it your own.
I love that. And on the bean sprouts, I just remember sitting around, the dining room kitchen table, pulling off the stringy part of the bean sprouts. I noticed that you don't have any stringy parts on your bean sprouts. Are you religious about those types of things with preparation of the ingredients?
Yeah, we because the recipe's so simple, we make sure to take a lot of care with the product. So yeah, everything we put in here, the bean sprouts, the scallions, we clean them really well and make sure to, cut them really as we'd like so that we get a really nice final product. I would compare this recipe to any just very, very simple preparation where, there's not a lot of ingredients. So kind of the more care you take with each one, the better it will be.
Fresh ingredients. And do you source, you mentioned, Twin Marquis again, based in Brooklyn, and we can easily get many of those, the noodles in different shops all around Chinatown, but also some some of the bigger shopping supermarkets, we're seeing some of their product. There's been an onslaught of Asian ingredients in sort of traditional Stop and Shops and wall bounds and things like that. Do you have a sense of what the impetus is for that? It just seems like so much more. The shelves, like there's almost a half an aisle now of Asian ingredients. Have you noticed that?
I mean, I honestly think people are just waking up to the fact that these ingredients are great and they're so easy to work with and so versatile. So I think as people are spending a lot of time on the internet and reading a lot of different recipes and about different things to make. I think people are just realizing that these types of ingredients are so fun and so easy to use, and again, so versatile. So I think the versatility is a big reason why they're becoming so popular. Even something like the dark soy sauce we're using here today, you can use that in place of any like salt or sodium in any recipe, and it'll add just like kind of a different dimension to it. So it's no surprise to me that we're seeing a lot more Asian products in general in supermarkets.
I love how you've been trained in a lot of different cuisines, and also in Japanese kitchens, and also in at Nom Wah. One thing that I've noticed, that scallions cut that way are not as popular in Western
Mhm,
cuisine, and
mhm.
almost they're often picked out if you
Yeah.
see some non-Asians eating this type of noodle, and also
Yeah.
bean sprouts are picked out. I wonder,
Yeah.
how did you bridge sort of your appreciation if you didn't grow up with it, or how would you suggest one might really bridge the sort of understanding?
Mhm.
They're really, I mean, I just love the combined taste of all that, but I think it's almost like a mental block, I think, and people don't typically do pick it out if they're not used to making their own dishes.
Yeah, yeah. I honestly totally agree with you. My answer is kind of agreeing with you. I do think it's kind of a mental block. I think the biggest way to bridge the gap is to just go eat it. If you just go eat, a different style of food or something, that has a lot of bean sprouts and scallions in, or any other big crunchy vegetable, you realize, oh wow, this tastes really good. Or maybe you don't like it, or maybe there's something else you try that you do like. But I think it's mostly just about going out and trying it, because then you can see if you like something or if it tastes good. I think a big kind of mental block, as you're saying, with certain preparation or cuts of vegetables or certain parts of vegetables you should eat or not eat, is just due to what you've experienced, or what you've been told is right. So I'm a big proponent of all the vegetables we use in the restaurant, we use it top to bottom. For example, the scallions in a recipe like this, we're using the greens and the whites, as where a lot of recipes will tell you to, or probably more Western recipes will tell you to throw out the white or just not use it. So yeah, we use ginger in the restaurant. We use its skin a lot. It has a lot of flavor and a lot of nutrition. And as long as it's cleaned and scrubbed really well, it's fully, edible and good to eat. So yeah, I agree with you. I think just kind of different forms of vegetables or products that you might not be used to eating is just a matter of just going out and trying it. I've walked around Chinatown with Wilson a lot, and he's also shown me a lot of things that I had never eaten before. I'm like, wow, I've had this before, but I've never had it this way, and it's so good. So
And, I noticed, some of our guests noticed that you use a little bit less bean sprouts, a little bit more noodles, and you're sort of like eyeing it a bit. I mean,
mhm.
it seems like there's no right or wrong. It's really to taste. Would you say that?
Yeah, I definitely agree. So, I think with a recipe like this, I think it's mostly, a suggestion of a ratio of sauce and vegetables to noodles. I think that can be a really helpful starting point for a lot of people to just, you know, have a suggestion of how much of things to use. But yeah, otherwise it is really to your taste. If you like things much more salty, add some more sauce or less noodles. If you like more vegetables, add more vegetables. And things like this, because it's so simple, it's also really easy to taste it as you go along. So taste it as you go along, at the different steps, and see if you like it. Taste it at the end, see if you like it. You can always add more or less of anything. So yeah, the recipe is really just a good baseboard, but it's definitely not a strict instruction of what you must do. You know, it's so fun to customize things, and that's why I love recipes like this.
Yeah, I think a lot of us are, you know, in the chat are just so grateful for you, you know, to share a staple that we can then mix and match. I mean, the confidence in the kitchen is all about building from fundamentals, and you've really given us something. I have a final question on one of the ingredients that you alluded to, and then we can thank Chef Julie and bring on Wilson to talk a little bit about the cookbook, the recipes, and Chinatown and how it's faring. But you mentioned ginger as an aromatic. I think ginger is also a big mystery for people who are not in, you know, a Chinese kitchen or Asian kitchen. How would you prepare the ginger, and how do you get the skin off? How do you go about approaching ginger for this dish?
Sure. If I were going to put it in here, I would take, you know, just a small piece. Actually, the best way to peel ginger is actually with a spoon, I think. I wish we had a piece here for me to show you, but if you take a spoon and and your piece of ginger, let's say, I don't know, let's see if I can take something like, let's say this cup is your piece of ginger and you have your spoon and you kind of scrape along the ginger, it actually peels the skin right off really easily. So the reason why I like that method is, number one, because it's really easy. You don't need any special tool. You just need a spoon and the ginger. And number two, you don't have any waste. So if you are cutting the skin off ginger with a knife, you know, you have to be really careful to just get the skin and not the flesh, because you want to keep all that flesh. But when you use the spoon, it just is scraping off the skin and you're not losing any of that flesh. So it's a really great, fast, easy, and economical way to peel it. And yeah, if you're using it for this recipe, I would mince it fairly finely. So that's like, you know, tiny cubes. And add that in at the beginning with our white onions and the white part of the scallions, just because you're going to want to cook the ginger a bit to get the flavor out, and also the raw flavor.
Love it. And final question is, why didn't you use a wok for this recipe today?
Because our setup is on this countertop and we don't have a wok on this countertop.
Practical.
But,
that's cooking.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's honestly a good demonstration of, like, you know, how you can make this really simple dish that we do make in a wok in the restaurants easily at home. I really think it's pretty much right there and just as good. So.
Chef Julie, you're amazing. We are so excited. You know, we're going to send you all these amazing comments on the side, and people are so excited to do this with like a variety of different proteins, and also the vegetarians. Thank you for sharing this recipe today, and so excited that, you know, oh, and Shaoxing wine. And yet, don't be afraid to get the condiments, because those are becoming much more ubiquitous. I put a little plug in for white pepper. I'm a huge fan of white pepper.
Yeah. These are the little things that I think make a big difference, you know, white pepper versus black pepper, adding in some of the Shaoxing wine. You know, if you were to make these noodles with just soy sauce, you'd actually be really surprised how radically different the flavor is. It's these little, very simple, but little details that kind of really round it out and make it super, super delicious. So.
And Chef Julie, just, you know, we are so grateful to you and everyone at Nom Wah for all the, you know, efforts you guys have for like pickup and delivery, and the insane amount of feeding that you've done during this time. And we're hoping that you guys have gotten the vaccination, and that you're staying all safe and keeping your spirits up, because I know already the love on this call is real. And we just wanted, you know, to say thank you to you for coming out and showing us this recipe. So Chef Julie, everyone, thanks to Chef Julie. But now we'll go directly into a conversation with Wilson. So thank you, Chef Julie, and we'll see you soon.
No problem. Thank you so much.
25% capacity soon, right?
Sunday.
I'll let Barb weigh in on that.
Sure. Sunday at Tea Parlor will be 25% capacity.
Awesome. So Valentine's Day, head out there and they have, they're open late into the night, and Wilson can give us a little bit more as we get Wilson back into the conversation. But please stay with us because Wilson has all these amazing recipes that he can talk about. And there's some questions about why you omitted egg tarts from your cookbook.
I can answer that right now.
Yeah, we need, and everyone, this is Wilson Tang. Thank you again, Chef Julie. So Wilson's going to join us, and if anyone caught Wilson on the Drew Barrymore show about a month ago, he was representing quite amazingly. But thank you again, Chef Julie. Yeah, so Wilson, why not the egg tarts?
I think I think for us it was really there were really recipes that we made here at the restaurant, and although there are all these other things we could have, should have put in the book. Yeah, sadly, that just didn't make the cut because we actually don't make that item here at the restaurant. We wanted to stay true to what the offerings of the tea parlor and just the new stuff that we were making. So that one, unfortunately, didn't make it. The pork with the glutinous rice ball didn't make it as well. But I really sympathize, or not sympathize, but I'm with you on that because those are definitely classics that should be part of the conversation. Maybe in our second cookbook when when we work on the stuff that we either omitted or that didn't have enough room, or just more classics.
We are so excited by your 100th birthday for Nom Wah, about your story. And some folks may have seen Michael Kimmelman and I walked through Chinatown, and we stopped and had dim sum at Nom Wah and had a good chat with Wilson. So you can check out that walk on the New York Times site. But I think, we have such a sophisticated crowd. So I kind of want to ask you something to kind of plunge into Chinese American Nom Wah cuisine in China, because we've talked a little bit about how you're basically kind of exporting this Chinese American cuisine, or how you've morphed the traditional Nom Wah recipes. And there's a real demand for it in Beijing and Shanghai. Can you share with the audience a little bit about what your plans are in mainland China?
Yeah, I mean, everything that I've done in the past couple of years have really come in a very organic way. So we do indeed have 3 locations in Shenzhen, China, and that was merely us finding the right partners to work with in overseas. And it was a long vetting process, and we found a operator that has ties to New York, that has a restaurant group in Hong Kong, and I really just kind of was very. We kind of hit it off, and we were able to license our brand and our recipes over there. But things, the way I look at it, things really come full circle sometimes. And as much as this stuff has come from the motherland, from where my parents are from, in China, southern China, where my family, my uncles, everybody is really from, it's actually very delightful to be able to take the spin that we did and be back in Asia as well. So we don't have any addition, we haven't really, it's been a rough 2020. So talks of doing more is kind of not on the table yet. But I think once things open back up and we can see what they look like, expansion can, those conversations can take place again.
I love that. And one thing for, I'm an American-born Chinese. I see that there are a bunch of other Chinese Americans, ABCs on the call. And I think the big wow moment for me was, oh my goodness, you're selling dim sum. You're giving dim sum after 12 noon. I get to have a beer with it or a glass of wine. And, it seems so natural in hindsight, but tell us how that idea generated.
That's really, you and I are on the same page. Growing up in New York from immigrant parents, one of the last things I wanted to do was wake up on a weekend and have to go into the hustle and bustle of Chinatown and fight for seats and go through that whole routine. And I love the fact that I was able to do this restaurant and inherit this restaurant and do it my way, which in my mind was really kind of was thinking about like Spanish tapas was my idea, as an Chinese American, especially living in New York, where we're so privileged to have all these different cultures and all these different foods that we can eat. I love the fact that dim sum to me seems like tapas, and there are many plates, small plates. It's meant for sharing. I didn't see why you can't have a beer with it or a glass of wine with it. And I love the fact that we're able to do dim sum all hours of the day and not just morning time where, how our parents used to do it. It's like 7 o'clock to 2 o'clock. Those are dim sum hours. And we're able to do what we do, pre-COVID, we were open until 10 p.m. So it was really fascinating to be able to draw out the hours of dim sum and really kind of change what it really is. It's not a breakfast item anymore. We can do the same thing for breakfast, lunch, and dinner with a beer or a glass of wine.
I really think it's so brilliant because we grew up in the same way where we were always, you're waiting on that dim sum line, whether it be in Flushing or Chinatown, it was like the whole day.
Yeah. I really, it's like a proud moment for me. Like I really feel like I paved the way for like dim sum service, like all hours of the day. And lately, in the past couple of years, especially here in New York, I've seen specialized dim sum places that only do dim sum and kind of took on our model, like all day dim sum. And it's actually a thing now, especially in New York, for the folks that are tuning in from New York. There's a bunch of them in the city.
Yeah, I mean, copying is the best form of flattery.
Oh yeah.
Take all in. But I just cannot underscore enough how innovative and entrepreneurial. Sometimes I think like some of the, ideas that you've really brought forth and just, put your own spin on it, but be like, wait, why not? It's so obvious, and yet it wasn't obvious before you did it. And I just, your background, some folks know your background. We're putting it up on the chat. But I guess what was your hardest moment? I mean, maybe it was 2020. Chinatown's gotten a lot of coverage with all of the volatility, the racism. Could you share with us, like, running a restaurant business, doing all the things that you're doing the cookbook, coming out in a year when, oh my goodness, could it have just come out when you had more traffic? All these things, right? That I'm sure you're just weighing. But tell us a moment when you were just sort of like, wait, is this, challenging? Like, what have you gone through?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely 2020. That was, I've been doing this for a decade, and it's been a good decade. And sometimes like the way I think about it is, all things come to an end at some point. And I take on this, the pandemic has been really challenging, but it's almost a point where I am so proud to be in the position that I'm in. In the past 10 years, we've really grown the team from, I remember like when we first started, when we did the reopening in 2011, it was 8 people. And now we're in New York, we're in, 3 locations. We have a location in Pennsylvania, and we've really grown to like over 100 employees. And, within this family, we've got some really good rock stars, like Chef Julie, Barbara on the operations side. They've really kind of really wowed me in a sense. We're doing these virtual cooking demos, like who does that? What restaurant prior to COVID was doing cooking demos? So I think the pivots in our business are huge. And it really took a pandemic for us to find out, like, hey, I have a really good team. And we were able to come out of COVID-19 relatively in a decent position. We really challenged ourselves in 2020 on how to generate revenue outside the four walls of a restaurant. And you know, if it's not cooking demos like this, talking about a cookbook, talking about our recipes, it's really trying to bring a restaurant experience to people's homes. So like stuff like this, you know, this is all new to us. You know, like for those who don't know what's going on behind scenes, like I'm looking at a big light and there's a camera here and there's a camera there, and Barbara's in front of me with a laptop. It's quite a production, and for us to learn how to do this as restaurant folks is really something, and the sky's the limit as far as what we can do. And you know, when I talk about bringing the experience home, you know, with the help of my team, you know, we're able to make our product and freeze it, and we are now nationwide through our provider, with our nationwide provider, Goldbelly. And you know, on days that I'm doing the packing of the dumplings into the UPS box, it's really proud for me to see that our product has hit 50 states in a matter of weeks. So you know, I'm a one person, but I'm nobody without the team that I've built in the last 10 years, and it's really interesting to see what we've been able to do.
You know, I love that, because when Michael Kimmerman and I sat down for a dim sum with you, I love the fact that your, I think, 11-year-old son came out and he was like cleaning up the tables and stuff.
Yes.
And I mean, and the story behind that, like, you know, MOCA has taken down so many oral histories, and you know, one person I recall in particular, he, you know, engineer, had a, you know, wonderful education in Taiwan, came here, and he said for every Chinese coming to America in the 50s, 60s, 70s, whether from Taiwan or Hong Kong, wherever, the rite of passage was working in a restaurant. I've worked in a restaurant. We owned a restaurant. All my uncles worked in a restaurant. We all had restaurant work. And I just love how your son was there, and he was so eager, and he was like proud. Can you tell us a little bit about, and I know your wife is so active in the space, like tell us what you think about the learning you did at Nom Wah, and then also your family now.
Yeah, you know, my son Ryan is actually just 8, and
He's
these
tall.
are, yeah, he's tall for his age. But you know, you're exactly right, Nancy. Like that's exactly how I grew up. You know, from an immigrant household. You know, it was always head down, work hard, and you know, I just, you know, as far as parenting is concerned, that's what I know how to do. I know how to work hard, and I want to instill these values to this next generation. You know, like my children are 8 and 7, and I want them to know that, you know, the value of hard work, and it's important to be on time, to put in your best effort, and sometimes just do it. And throughout this whole pandemic, he's really been a super good kid, and he's coming out on the weekends to help me with just, you know, putting stickers on boxes to, you know, he'll be here on the register for a little bit, just kind of hanging out while I'm doing some paperwork. And he's part of the restaurant family as well, and he has his place here, and he knows how to like enter orders and bring takeout outside. And I think that's just the immigrant experience, you know, and that's what I grew up with. That's what I know, and I want to make sure he gets to experience that as well. You know, even though he doesn't need to do it, I want to make it a point that he understands what dad does for a living and what mom does for a living. So that's super, super important to me.
He's the best. I was
Yeah.
amazed, and I was like, I got to get my kids to work for you.
I'm
But
hiring. Yeah, bring them
oh
on.
my gosh, I'll send them there. You don't have to send them
Yeah.
back. Just, but you got to. They're 12 and 13, and you know they're challenging.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, show us the book and pick out a recipe that you think is like the one that really that you would say, I'm proud of this recipe right here, because there's so many recipes in the book.
Yeah.
I never found one that, because they're tricky. You know, dim sum's tricky, and
Yes.
so pick one out that and show us. So people are buying the book. Make sure you get the book. There's information in the chat.
Yeah, you know what, this cookbook again is probably 80% of what we make at the restaurant, with a bunch of little add-ins, like more large format style, and other like moon cakes are in this cookbook. But I think my favorite recipe in this book is the chicken and cabbage dumpling. It's one of my favorites because, as you may or may not know, dim sum is primarily pork and shrimp based. And in the past 10 years, we added the chicken and cabbage dumpling maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And that was probably one of the hardest things to do, to add on a new item with my OG chefs in the kitchen, because that wasn't the product that they used. And it took so much convincing, so much back and forth for us to finally add a product that was the main ingredient was chicken instead of shrimp or pork. So this recipe is very memorable for me because traditional dim sum is mostly shrimp and pork. And it was such a, not a nightmare, but it was such a ordeal to add on this new product at the restaurant. And now it's become one of the best sellers. And for, on the business side of it, Nancy, the cost of seafood has gone up a lot. And especially when we're using shrimp that is sourced in Louisiana, the pricing on that is almost like the stock market. It comes in, sometimes it's $6-7 a pound, sometimes it's $4 a pound. And we really needed an item that had a very stable price, like chicken, to add into the repertoire of the menu. So this one is very memorable to me, and it's one of the recipes that I love making with my kids. And it's also great for Lunar New Year for those who are celebrating. It's sitting down at home and making dumplings is very traditional. It was something I grew up doing. And it's tasty, and it's actually very easy to do once you have all the ingredients laid out and all the seasoning. And it's fun. It's very hands-on. You're making the dumplings, and then you can steam them, pan fry them. You can freeze them for later, and it's a great intro to gauge your skill level with all the other recipes in the book.
I love that. And I find that your recipes aren't intimidating, because sometimes you get the Chinese cookbook and I was like, you have to do conversions. There's all kinds of things going on.
Yeah, that was very, I was very conscious about that as well, because I didn't grow up in the culinary side of things. And, I love cooking at home, and I love running a food establishment. But I'm definitely, not good at cutting things with a knife, not very good at measuring. And this book is really, like similarly to, for those who were watched the demo earlier, if you can't find egg noodle, use something else. It's quite all right. And everything that comes out is going to taste good. And if it doesn't taste so good, try again. No big deal. And that's the ethos of this book. It's even when it comes down to our fillings, we have one filling, you add something else to it, now it's a different filling. And now you can put this filling into eggplant, or you roll it into a ball, it's a shrimp ball, and you do something else to it, and it's another thing. So we're very, what's the word here? It's very cross-utilized, our recipes, like especially when we're talking about a shrimp master filling or a pork master filling, we kind of mix and match, and you can make other things out of it.
It's so cool. And we were started off by saying, it's been the year of the metal rat. Tomorrow is Lunar New Year's Eve. And then on Friday, no school in New York City public schools, so
Yes.
Brian can help out. But the year of the golden ox starts on Friday.
Yes.
What's on your dinner table tomorrow, or is it impossible to do a proper sit down with the business? What do you eat?
Yeah, so this year is a little different. Typically we have a ginormous spread. We close the restaurant for the night, and all the even our Philly team comes up to New York to have a restaurant family meal. But I think running a Chinese restaurant, I have all the auspicious foods already. If it's not our pan-fried noodle, long noodles, long life. We're eating a lot of dumplings, because dumpling symbolizes like gold nuggets, and who doesn't want to get rich in the new year, right? But besides dumplings and noodles, we have like, the kids love the box of togetherness with all the sweets, and the sweets symbolizes, having a sweet new year. And, we have a lot of pistachio at home, because eating pistachio means happiness. It's a happy nut. So we get a bunch of pistachios in the box, a lot of sweets. Noodles, dumplings, and we have a good time with it.
I can't remember now. Do you have rice cakes at Nom Wah?
No, we don't have rice cakes. That's our other friends at Feng An. They are the rice.
I know, but every time I want to eat a rice cake there too. I want you guys to make rice cake.
We'll make a special one for you.
Okay, but no, I love that. I was just thinking because rice cake is also so traditional for the Yangao, but I always forget the pistachios. Pistachio in Mandarin is kaixing, which is a homophone for be happy. But okay, so these are very important. For those of you who can see, that is a red envelope. So how many red envelopes do you give out, boss?
Oh man, it's funny. I've been married 10 years already, so it's normal for me to give red envelopes now. But I think as a kid, this is probably the happiest time of the year when you're unmarried and you can get red envelopes from everybody. But I usually carry a stack with me. Anyone I meet in the street, I make sure to give, at least one or two of them to the kids. But everyone gets one at work. It's our tradition is a work red envelope and something to kind of spread some happiness to all the staff here. So everyone definitely gets one on Friday and Saturday this weekend.
I love that. And for the guests on our call, red envelopes are such a fundamental part of the Lunar New Year celebration. And there's even a phrase people will say, "Gong Xi Fa Cai," which is happy, be prosperous in the new year, hongbao na lai, like where's my red envelope? It's a joke, but also it's actually serious.
Yeah, so, it's time to get rich, right?
But I can only imagine, Wilson, you're like with like the red envelopes all over your pockets, because there is also this interesting expectation that because you're the big boss, that you should be handing out red envelopes, and because you're married, you should be handing out red envelopes. And do you know, because I know often there are different denominations that, if closer friends might get a different amount, and then your family, your kids obviously get a different amount. Do you have a differentiation in your pockets?
Yeah, I do. It's I thought it was faux pas to talk about that, but yeah, I definitely have like the different styles of envelopes, and not styles, but at least they're different. So I know that the denominations are in there, but I keep like a bunch of envelopes with 5s in them, and those are kind of like, if I saw a friend or my friend's kids, I would give those. The employee ones are a lot more. They're either 50 or 100. And then we have like a stack for kind of when the lion dance comes, and those are either $2 or $3, and we'll kind of give those away very generously.
Right. So lion dance.
Like $2, $5, and like a $50.
Everyone, do not go to Wilson and ask for a hongbao unless making sure you're going to buy like 10 copies of his cookbook. But no, and the lion dance, you alluded to that, the lion dances visit the different shops. And a lot of people that we've, have come to the museum said, oh no, I think the lion dance parade was yesterday because I saw them in front of Nom Wah, right?
Right.
But explain to our audience why the lion dance visitors come to you. And do you arrange that, or do they just come and expect that you're going to be there?
Yeah, so I think it's a combination of both. This year is going to be a little different, of course. There's no parade this year, but we have some coming on Saturday, just to kind of give the restaurant the well wishes and to ward away the evil spirits, and to and that typically happens throughout the week. But this year a little different. I don't know the full schedule of things, but we have one lion troupe coming on Saturday as the New Year kickoff in the morning here at the restaurant, just as our traditional annual celebration.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you've got to let us know. I mean, the other video that you can also see is, again, Wilson was on the Drew Barrymore show and taught Drew Barrymore how to make dumplings. She seemed very much like she was crushing on you a little bit, Wilson.
Yeah, that was a fun segment. That was also another kind of activation we did to promote the cookbook. And Drew is a big foodie, and she's been here at the restaurant before, and it was such a pleasure to be able to teach her. We actually went and did the chicken and cabbage dumpling for that segment. So for those who are interested in that, well, we did pork and shrimp for that one. But for those who are interested in learning how to make that, you can Google that Drew Barrymore show with Nom Wah, and that video should come out, and we do the demo for that item in the segment.
Okay, so we have to remind the audience, we put up a whole bunch of actually MOCA, the professional team, we came up with eight things, 8 books you can read, 8 traditions, 8 lucky things, 8 unlucky things. Make sure you get your haircut today or tomorrow at the last, and then otherwise you got to wait till February 28th. But Chinatown, please come out to support Chinatown. Please come out to support Wilson. It has been devastated. What can you tell us about the state of Chinatown, and what can the audience here do to help Nom Wah out, help your peer organizations and restaurants out? What can we do to be helpful?
Yeah, that's a great question, Nancy. Chinatown, I've never seen Chinatown this empty before. This past year has been pretty brutal for the community. So if it's not supporting me, it's really coming down and spending time in the community. If you need kitchen stuff, food, don't do it on Amazon. If you're able to support your local Chinatown all across the US, I'm talking about San Francisco, LA, Chicago, Philly, New York, even Florida. There's small Chinatowns in Tampa, in Miami, in Austin, in Dallas. Please come out and support. These small businesses all need our help. It's been a really rough 2020, especially with all the racism, the xenophobia. There's nothing to be worried about. Just come out and spend money at these locations, because if you don't, these places will disappear. And I hate to say, I hate to be the one to say that, oh man, I should have went there before it closed, because that's going to happen more and more.
Yeah, and just to share with the audience, I saw Wilson on January 24th at lunchtime. It was the day after MOCA and 4 other nonprofits in Chinatown underwent that 5-alarm fire at a local community building at 70 Mulberry Street. And I said, Wilson, what are you doing? It's lunchtime. I don't know if you remember that day. It was like noon. And he's like, we've got no business. And I said,
Yeah,
no business. And because the xenophobia had created already anti-Chinatown, where there was this association that the Wuhan virus was already in Chinatown, which absolutely makes no sense, because many of the generations in Chinatown are now 3rd and 4th generation and have less connection with mainland China. So even if there were that stereotypical assumption, would have been more prevalent in more recent immigrant neighborhoods than in Chinatown. But MOCA saw almost 80% of its school groups, canceled by January 2nd. And you were walking around at noon.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I remember that. It was
much longer. I mean, tell us.
Yeah, it was a very, I've never seen anything like that. I've never seen the neighborhood so quiet, so dead before. And, it's either from the previous president's rhetoric to just people not being educated enough to know what the real deal is. But I have faith in humanity. I don't dwell on the negativity, and the only thing we can do is to be hopeful and really champion for our community and keep hopes alive and just get people to come out. I mean, like that's the least that I can do at this moment, and not dwell on the negative stuff, because I see the light at the tunnel. And I think a lot of my staff, and including myself, we've got at least one of the 2 doses of the vaccine, and we're going to be able to do some indoor at the end of this week. So I'm going to just continue to stay positive and not think about what happened, and really fight to make sure things like that don't happen again, and just keep pushing.
Yeah, and the whole sort of headline for the Lunar New Year for Asian American communities, and very much so in the Chinese American community, is to stay positive. Hope and wish for happiness and peace and prosperity.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the racism is rampant. Just cases now. We're looking at that situation in New Haven, which is devastatingly sad, and then they're in Pasadena. You're hearing these stories pop up, and to be honest, just to our audiences, if you can continue to upstand for those who are dealing with racism and discrimination, that is something that if you want more information or resources, we definitely have them on our website, MOCA NYC. There are a lot of videos around this. But just like we're trying to tell the story of the American narrative based on the stories of Chinese Americans like Wilson, we just really want to make sure that we can broaden the understanding of being American in this country, and that we're a diverse and multicultural space. What else can we tell people? We told them to buy the Nom Wah Cookbook. We told them to go to Gold Belly. There are several Chinatown restaurants. We told them to come out and make a date for February 14th and thereafter. Outdoor dining is still there. Just bundle up. What else can we do for Nom Wah and Chinatown?
I think there's one additional thing I want to say, which is, I'm very, very proud to be part of this community, and seeing the youth come out and form these grassroots organizations. 2 that are top of mind for me are Welcome to Chinatown and Send Chinatown Love. They are doing huge things for mom and pop restaurants, mom and pop merchants, and just advocating for these small businesses. And from organizing food crawls to setting up GoFundMe pages to give grants to small businesses that need money to survive. Those are the 2 organizations I would look at and find some way to support them, as they are really being champions for the community and bringing awareness to the small mom and pop shops.
That's great. And also there's a lot of recommendations go out to Flushing as well.
Yes, yeah, Flushing and Brooklyn, yeah.
Brooklyn, Sunset Park. There are many, many places there. And there's some interest in you setting up a Nom Wah in Queens. So that's on your to-do list, right? For the Golden Ox. We put up the websites, welcome to Chinatown.com, sendchinatownlove.com. And from what I've seen on their sites, really, I would say 100%, if not near that, is going directly to restaurant owners and vendors. So that's really a direct way to do that. And that grassroots effort does make a significant difference.
Yeah, it's huge.
It's yeah. So and also frozen dumplings. Oh my God.
Oh yeah, yes.
You and your marketing team.
Yes. Frozen dumplings, so important. We are available nationwide through Goldbelly. And if you look at our website, you can find a list of locations that actually serve, that sell the frozen packages in the New York, Long Island area. We have stores in Long Island, out in Sag Harbor that carry our product. Number of locations in Brooklyn that carry them. But for those who are outside of New York City, Gold Belly would be a great place to look us up and bring a taste of New York to your home.
Wilson, we are just such huge admirers of you and your work and your family and Ryan and your wife, everybody, and the recipes in the Nom Wah Cookbook that you've made seriously accessible to all of us. People are going to make the turnip cake. That's another biggie.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
That's a good one because no one knows. They're like, "What is this?" And you can find those. You can find those turnips in supermarkets in Chinatown, also at H Marts. They have.
Yeah, H Mart has them. It's just your daikon. It's the same vegetable.
And eat your scallions, okay, and your bean sprouts.
Yes.
On the side. But Wilson, we just think nothing but the world of you. Power on Nom Wah, and happy Lunar New Year to everyone there. And thank you so much for spending time with us.
Thanks for having me. It was a great time. I hope you guys learned a little something about the noodle dish. I hope it whets your appetite for buying the book, so for those who are interested or haven't bought it yet. But we're here. It's our 101st year. I'm going to try to celebrate it as if it was our 100th. And hopefully things get better in the next couple of months, and we can get back to our normal lives of eating out and being with family and talking at restaurants and drinking and eating and all of that good stuff sooner than later.
Yeah. And I echo that. Thanks everyone so much. And thanks to Barbara, especially for on the back end at Nom Wah for all your help on this. And Chef Julie, amazing. Happy Lunar New Year, everyone. And we will see you at the next MOCA Fest event. Go to the calendar at mocanyc.org. And don't forget, order the book. All right. Thanks, Wilson.
Great. Thank
Have a
you.
great night, everyone.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye.